Bluetooth. Who doesn't love to hate Bluetooth? Anyway, in this particular little exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to hook up this Bluetooth to this Arduino, and then we're going to connect to a desktop. We're going to be having this Arduino connected to a laptop, and then we're going to use a desktop to reach out and talk to the Bluetooth through a Bluetooth pairing. And I'm not using the laptop to talk to it, just so that we know that we're talking over the air rather than maybe somehow through the Arduino. So what we have here is, this is an HC06, which is simple. It has 4 pins. I've put red for the voltage. We're going to use the 5 volts from the Arduino, black for ground, green for transmit, and blue for receive. Now there are a variety of Bluetooth like this. We have one here, this is an HC05. It's basically got the same 4 pins that transmit, receive, ground, and voltage, but it's got a couple of other pins that I don't usually use. But these things all operate in a very similar fashion. Now this is an HC05, which has a little bit of a drag, which is that it's not what they have as BLE, or the version 4 of the protocol, which means I can't talk to this using my Android phone or my iPhone or pretty well any of the lesser handsets, whereas if you get the newer Bluetooth modules, which look the same, have the same pins usually, cost $2 or $3. I think actually they're a little more expensive. They're about $3 on eBay. They do the same thing, except that you can talk to them through iPhones, and I used my last one in another project, so I can't actually show it here, but they're fairly simple to program. You're just pairing it up, talking to the serial, and away you go. So what we're going to do in this particular project is we're going to talk to we're going to use a little Python on the server, or on the desktop, sorry, to go over serial and talk to this, which will be connected here. And so it's pretty straightforward. We establish a pairing on the desktop to this once this is running, and we will then have a serial port, which we can then chat through. Now I'm just going to wire this up to the Arduino. I'm going to go with a software connection, so we're going to go pins 11 and 10, so we're going to transmit the Arduino's receive, so the RX to pin 11, and the TX from here is going to connect to pin 10. Then we go with ground and 5 volts. So I'll bring this into view for when I power it up, and you'll see it begins blinking, and this rapid blink means that we don't have a pairing. So now how you pair on your desktop is sort of going to depend on your desktop. Usually there's just some Bluetooth connector, and then you say pair. The default pairing code for these is 1234, and it's pretty straightforward. So now we could also connect to other interesting devices like these OBD2 scanners that you plug into your car, and they give you diagnostics. I've got a bunch of these, and they're all pretty cool, but we're not going to do that today. And it's very straightforward. Now, as I say, this is an HC06, so it's a pretty good, cheap little thing. Probably paid $2 for it or something, but I would only buy an HC10 at this point. I would not buy any more of these unless I were knowing that I'm connecting them to either themselves or to desktops or some other device that I know it connects to, because it's annoying not to be able to connect these to iPhones, and because I do app development, and it's fun to connect to them. So as I say, there's a bunch of different modules, and they're all pretty well similar. Serial connections are brilliantly easy to do. Now, the reason I'm doing a software serial port here is because it, if you connect on the Uno through the TX-RX serial in, it also is effectively talking to the Uno the same way as the USB is talking, so you can get overlap. So this guy here might be chitter-chattering into the ear of this through its TX-RX and transmit receive, and confuse the programming of this little chip. we don't want to do that, so I find it a lot easier to go with a software serial and don't worry about it. So now for some code. So my connection here is a little bit complicated. We've got a virtual screen going to my laptop, which is what's connected to the Arduino, and then we're going to use my desktop to wirelessly connect to the Bluetooth. So the little screen is desktop, which we're working on now. We've got an Arduino Bluetooth blank file ready to go, and then we'll connect to it later with the background, which is my desktop. Anyway, so we start with a software serial include. We instantiate a software serial connection to the pins 10 and 11, if you recall the green and blue pins. Now we're going to prevent buffer overruns, which makes this code a little more complicated than it needs to be. But so we're setting the buffer to 64 bytes, which is more than we'll be sending, but keeps everything safe. A buffer overrun is both an excellent way to hack a device, but also a great way for your code to go mad. Anyway, so we have a serial connection to both just the output and one to the Bluetooth. We send a ready to the Bluetooth, which will never be seen, and now we begin processing the number of bytes coming in, and if we have bytes, we then check to see if the bytes are bigger than the buffer size, and if they are, we only process the first 63 in this particular case, because we need to leave 1 byte for the terminating null, and then we burn off the remaining bytes after the terminating null's been added, so that we can not have a buffer overrun, but read the rest of the buffer. Now there is a way to terminate the buffer, but I find for some reason in the Arduino it doesn't work as well as it should. Maybe the software serial has been updated and it works better, but I just like to burn them off. Anyway, so what we do is we then print out the Bluetooth, a hello from blue, and then a numerically incremented count. So you can check out this code. I'll post it so that you can get at it. Now we'll go to Python, and we'll write this on the desktop, and we'll do a quickie Python script where we're going to import the serial, import time, then we'll connect to a port and send some data. So, and we're just going to send it 5 little packages of data, I guess. We'll just call them, I don't know, boop. So we'll start. And now we're going to, actually let's first connect to the Bluetooth. So we want to open up the available Bluetooth things. Now this HC06 is still connected, but we'll just make it go away as if it weren't there. This was the first time we were doing this, and so it scans for devices. We've got the Bluetooth plugged in. All it needs is power for it to show up. And in a moment it will show up. Now it won't show up on iPhones or Androids because it's an HC06. The HC10 will though, because it's got the BLE 10. Anyway, so we have to set the pairing code 1234, which is the default on most of these little devices. There is a more advanced way to change it, and there we go. HC06 is connected. So we go back to I've got a console open here, and we look for a device. And these new 2 devices have shown up. We're going to want to connect to the TTI or TTY one, not the CU one. So we set our port to that we just saw, dev TTY HC-06-dev-B. But a different device would show up as a different thing. So this is something you'd have to discover and connect to. And on the Windows machines, I believe it will connect as a COM port. So COM1, COM2, that kind of things. I don't know what COM it'll connect to on a modern Windows machine because they don't have COMs anymore. So there we go. And so now we set up a Bluetooth connection to that port, 9600 baud, and just flush out the inputs. Good thing to do at the beginning. And then we're going to send 5 pings. We're going to say, no, they have to be bytes. That's what the B is for, and why we have to string encode that, because they're byte strings, and Python 3 likes Unicode, and the Bluetooth library does not. So we'll just then see what data comes back. We'll read the line. We don't have to do the character by character thing in Python. And then we will print that. Now it's coming in as a byte string, so we have to do a decode to make it Unicode. And then we'll have a little pause, 1/10 of a second. And I had the same 1/10 of a second pause on the Arduino thing. So there we go. So now let's go back to Bluetooth. We'll upload that to the thing. We'll bring up a serial console. We'll move it over a bit so we can see. Now, I find better for the serial output to not run from Sublime Text. I like to run from the console, but we'll run it once from Sublime Text. And as you can see, when we hit run, it will send out the 5 pings. Now the Bluetooth will respond first because, as I say, Sublime Text sort of waits for all the input to come back. So we'll go to the console next. So there's the 5 pings, and then there's the hello from Blue 1, 2, 3, and 4. I should say 4 pings, it's a range. 0, 2, 4. So there we go, running it from the console, Python 3, we can just keep running it from the console, and it will just keep counting. Now the Arduino's counting continuously because it is not being reset, whereas the Python is being reset, so it just does 1, 2, 3, 4. So now let's see if we could act on one of these as if it were some magic command. So let's pretend we're controlling a motor controller. And when we're not, we're just going to say we are, but it's not actually controlling a motor. It'd be very easy. So we'll say if boop 2 comes in, we'll start the motor, and we'll upload that. And so now we run it, and as you can see, when boop 2 comes in, it says, oh, I should start the motor, which could just as easily be sending in pins to an LN298 or an L298N or something like that that is controlling a motor. So of course we want to be able to stop the motor. So let's just put an else if in here and basically say if boop 4 comes in, let's shut down the motor. Now, these boop things could be just some arbitrary command that you're sending from a program where you're actually pushing buttons on the desktop that cause the Bluetooth to transmit, receive, and play with the motor. So here we have it starting the motor on boop 2 and stopping the motor on boop 4. So anyway, if this was helpful, like, subscribe, and all that stuff, and any questions, just drop me a note and I'll answer them. Thank you very much.